Hi, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here for another PB&J card class. And today's video is the fourth and final in a series featuring one-layer elegant holiday cards created using Penny Black's newest stamps from their Merry and Joy holiday collection. I've had so much fun stamping and painting all of these in and giving them all a very elegant look. And like I've said before, they're very easy to pop into the mail because they are one layer. So here's a look at the card that we will be creating today. This actually is my favorite of all four. I'd love to hear what your favorite is if you leave a comment down in the comment section below. And just a note before we get started, there will be a full supply list at the very end of the video up on screen. So if you want to check out any of the supplies in more detail at that time, you can just hit pause. Now this card features this really gorgeous, fun, unique stamp called Winter Garden. This is a lovely and great sized cling stamp. And I went ahead off camera and just pre-stamped this onto my standard A2 size card, stamping part of it above at the top of the card and then below. And I love how these mirror each other because of the way that the stamp was positioned and leave just this perfect little spot in the center for a sentiment. Now I stamped onto Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, and I am doing my coloring using Arteza Twi markers, and I stamped using Desert Sand Memento ink. And I like this ink because it once everything is done, it does really give the look of no-line watercoloring, where it looks like the image was just painted and not stamped in like a dark outline and colored in later. And with light colors like this, and actually all of the colors, once you color onto it and then blend with the water like I'm doing here, the stamped ink really takes on the color of the marker that is used on top of it. So for instance, on those flowers, I just used that one very light shade, and you can see that it really, you can keep the detail of the petals and the flowers, and it is just very easy to do. Now here I'm going in on these pine needles and just coloring those in with one of the markers. These markers have two tips. They have a brush tip and then a very fine tip. The brush tip is also very small and has a nice firm tip, so it's really great for details such as this, where you can go in and kind of highlight all of those different pine needles. I went in with the darker color, and now I'm just going back with that lighter color and just blending those two together. So for this area on the card, I'm not even using the water to blend. I just went ahead and blended it using the marker itself. Now I'm using the very, very fine tip of the darker green just to add even more detail back in onto those pine needles. Here I'm going to color with my lightest color onto this leaf. And I'll just get a couple here at a time. And then I'm going to blend that entire area with water. So I'm just wetting that all down, which will make it easier to blend the next color on top if I'm blending it onto a wet surface. I'm going to feather on with my darker green down here at the base of the leaves, and then go back with my paintbrush and water and just blend that out. Now I find that these blend really well on the Canson 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper, but if you have other water soluble markers and you want to try blending them or skipping the water step altogether and just blending them with the markers, you may want to give that a try on Bristol cardstock. They also work very beautifully on that cardstock. Here I'm just going in and adding this green onto the flowers. And now I'm going to work on the pine cones. Now for this I'm using the very fine tip of this marker just to do some outlining so I don't lose that detail of the pine cone. If you wanted a looser effect on this, you could skip this step, but I just found this made it easier to do, and I didn't have to stress so much about having them all start to blend together. Using that same color, I'm just adding a little touch of that darkest color where they overlap. I will go back with my water and just very lightly blend that out. Now that color does get a little bit rosy when the water is added. So I just go back in here while it's still wet with some yellow ochre and blend that out even more. And I just love the life and brightness that adds to the pine cones. And I can blend that with some more water if it's needed. Next, I will move on to the berries, and for these, I am going to just color with the marker directly onto the berries, starting with my darker red. And like I said, all of the exact colors and supplies are listed up on screen at the very end of the video. And I'm just adding that onto the berries. This is a really fast way to color berries, especially if you have a lot to do. And then I'm going to grab that yellow ochre and just blend those colors together. So I'm not even worried about getting out the paintbrush or the water on this. I'm just blending it with the lighter color. And if any of that red sort of transfers onto my yellow marker, I just color onto a piece of scratch paper until it colors clean, and then you don't have to worry about any cross-contamination. Using the very fine tip of that brown, I am just tracing over the outline of the branches and the stems of the flowers. And then I will also use the very fine tip here just to add some more detail to these flowers. And there are so many different ways that you can color this image. I love this Winter Garden stamp by Penny Black. You could do these flowers in whites or shades of blue, reds for the entire flower, and just give this a totally different look every time that you color it. For the centers here, I'm adding just a touch of yellow, and then I will go back with my paintbrush and a little bit of water just to blend that out and give it a softer look. And then just to finish everything off, once this was dry, I am going to add a little bit of Toffee Crunch Memento ink using a jumbo sponge applicator tool, starting off of the edge and working my way on at the top and the bottom of the card. And I just felt like that kind of grounded those stamped images at the top and the bottom. So here's a look at that finished card, just mounted to an A2 size note card, 4¼ by 5½, and the card is complete. I hope you enjoyed today's video and this series featuring one layer elegant holiday cards. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, as well as our website and our blog. And I will link to all of those for you down in the YouTube description box below. And if you stay tuned here, that list of supplies will be up on screen as promised. Thanks for watching.